Hi everybody! So this is my first video after having a little break over Christmas and New Year, continuing and finishing my Christmas journal so that I can get on with whatever I'm going to do this year. It's now, what is it? I don't know what day it is. It's a Tuesday at the beginning of January, whatever day that is. 5th? Yes, it's the 5th. So I have with me my covers, which I did actually tuck in the loose edges that you might have seen previously and sew along the edge. So that's all ready to go, my front and my back. And I've got my pages. There's quite a few here that you might not have seen because I think I only went up to day 20, I think, in my sort of junk journal with me videos, I suppose. So basically that's up to here. And then I did do some extra ones over the holiday, which I will show you when I do like a flip through at the end. But yeah, I didn't have any footage of those because I was doing them in like all sorts of random places, different rooms at different random times. So I couldn't sit down and film a proper video for you, but I will show you those through when I do the flip through. So this video is going to be showing you how I'm going to do the binding. So I'll show you how I punched the holes using this template, and then I'm going to show you how I sew it together. And I'm basically going off one YouTube video, which I'm going to link down below. And it's a really good video showing you a chain stitching technique, which is actually a lot simpler. I was quite relieved when I watched it, because I've been building myself up to do this for so long. Like, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? And I think it will work. So I'm like, oh, I'm a bit relieved about it. I mean, I hope that's not famous last words. I hope it does work. But yeah, this one video is so useful and so clearly explained that I feel quite confident at the moment, basically. So let's get started. So first of all, I'm going to show you how I punch the holes. So firstly, I've punched holes in these ones. This is like roughly half, so that's why this is here. So I'm going to put those to the side. The cover, the only thing I did since I last showed you was I sewed up the edges, and I didn't do like an incredibly neat job. I just sewed it up, and I for some reason chose white thread. I don't know why. I could have done red, but I did white. So those are all completely sealed in now. They're all good to go. So that's the front cover and the back cover. I haven't punched holes in those yet because I'm quite nervous about how to do that. So that I'll do at the end. And then I've got this little lot here that I still need to punch holes in. So the way I did it was I just took a piece of card that is the same length as my pages, like that. I measured it, so it was 22 centimetres long, and I left a little bit of space at each end and then divided the rest of the distance from where my thumbs are in 6. So I've got 6 holes to sew through. And I obviously punched holes, and I'm just using this as my guide basically. So I'll just show you how I'm doing it now. I'll zoom in. Okay, so what I'm doing, I couldn't find my awl. I do have an awl to punch holes, and God knows where it's gone, and it was kind of broken and knackered anyway, like the tip kept coming out. So I had meant to buy a new one, and I thought, no, I don't need to buy a new one, I can still use that one. But God knows where it is. I don't know what I've done with it. So what I'm using, I'm actually using this, I don't know what this is, if it's a hat pin or what. It's basically like a giant sewing pin. It's a bit bent, probably because I've used it to punch holes in things before. So I'm using that to go through initially, and then I'm just using a white, slightly thicker sewing needle to go through a second go, just to make it a little bit wider. The holes don't need to be particularly wide, but I just want to make it easier for myself, basically. And if that turns out to be a mistake, then I'll know, won't I? So this is my template, and to keep it steady, I'm just attaching it to each page with a couple of bulldog clips while I punch the holes. So it's not going to move around. Oops, she says, and then it moves. Hang on. Okay, and then I just carefully, because obviously this is a bit bendy and it's not as good as using an awl, just go through the holes with this thing. This it can't be a hat pin because it's not very decorative, but it's kind of it's just a giant pin, isn't it? So through those, trying not to snap or bend the thing, and then I go once through with this one. So I'm trying to be careful, make sure, first of all, that I'm doing this on the right side. I'm not punching holes in the wrong edge. I think I've got it right. And then I'm trying to keep them in order, because once I obviously sew them together, if I get them in the wrong order, it's tough. So that's that through, and that's my holes punched. So I'm going to do that for all of the other pages, and then I'll show you how I'm going to bind it up. Okay, so I've got all my holes punched, and I think I've got everything in the right order. So this is the first page. I will have a quick check before I sew them, but those are my pages with the holes all punched. Now, for the front and the back cover, I've punched holes, but I've also left, I don't know if you can see, but I've got a load of pins sticking through to mark the places, because I found that obviously when I drew on here and marked the places, it wasn't very clear because it's quite busy, and also one of the holes is actually underneath this little bit of frill which I couldn't see. So these are like sewing pins that don't have like a thick head on them, so they look like this. So rather than the usual ones that have like the bobble, it's just one without anything on. And I pushed these through the holes of the template, and then they just pulled through. So that way the little pins are now marking where I need to go. Now they're a bit lethal. Well, they're not lethal, but if you're not careful, you could accidentally put your hand down on there. So I have to be careful. But I have them all marking all of the holes along this side of the cover, and I've done the same on the back here. You probably can't see it. Yes, you can see them. Now for this method, you work with different like threads for each hole. So I've chosen 6 sewing needles, and I've chosen fairly big ones, none of the little, nothing too fine. So I've basically chosen my 6, I guess easiest to get hold of needles. And I've also, am I in focus? I think I'm going to use this thread. I have a feeling that because this is really bulky, the thickest thread possible would be best, because it should allow like a bit more spacing on the binding, but I don't have anything thicker than this. So I'm just going to have to go with it. I did really want to use one of these nice colours, but this is just a very thin, normal sort of embroidery thread. Not even embroidery thread. I don't know what you call it. It's just a normal sewing thread width. So I don't think I can use these. So I'm going to go with this one. I don't know what kind of thread it is. I think it's for a specific craft. Those Japanese crafts where you wrap threads around a polystyrene ball, maybe. Anyway, so I'm going to use that on 6 different needles, and with this method you work from the back. Well, you don't work the back to the front, but you work from one side of the book to the other. So I'm going to start from the back, I think, and just kind of work my way up, basically. So I think I need to do it on the edge of a table so that I can get a clear view. So I'm going to change the camera around. Okay, so I've moved to the spare desk. I moved this desk into my office because over the Christmas New Year I had to do a bit of work in here, and I put this like spare table in the corner so that my son could sit at it with his iPad or pen and paper or whatever. And we didn't really use it that much, but it's actually coming quite handy because I'm going to use this desk to do the threading, because I want to have it so it's on the edge of the table as I do it, and then the threads can drop down, hopefully not get too tangled. I'll explain what I mean in a minute. So the lady that does the tutorial for this is called Tanya McGuire, so do go and watch her video, because I don't think this, I'm not necessarily going to be able to explain this very well because this is the first time I've done it, but I'm just going to show you what I do basically, and if it makes sense that's good, and if you look at it and go what on earth, then you can go and check her video out. But yeah, she's called Tanya McGuire, and I will put the link down below. So what I've got so far, this is my back cover, and I've got my like pins sticking through to mark the holes, so that's hanging off the edge. I have my last page ready to go in, so that will go on top like that, and I have all my threads threaded up. Now I hope they're not too tangled. I'll just show you the length. I don't know how long I need them to be, so I sort of, when I was unwinding the thread off the bobbin, I just did like my arms, like the span of my arm twice, because this is doubled up and a knot tied in the end. So I have 6 of these on needles, and I think that's what I need to show you in terms of the setup. I do have the board here that I normally draw on, because I thought that might come in handy to hold it still if it wobbles, but I don't know, I think it should be okay. I guess I'll put it down for now. I might need it, I'm not sure. So I'll zoom you in for the actual sewing part basically. Okay, so I'm going to start with the first hole on the right here. Now I'm not doing it exactly the same as Tanya did, because I'm actually using a needle and going through a fabric cover where she had some quite larger punched holes and was using a wax thread which she didn't even need to use a needle for. And I'm actually using, I've got my knotted end is going to be, I can't focus, that's a knot. Doesn't matter if you can't see it. Basically, it's a knot on the end of the thread. She had a loop on the end of hers, and she used the raw ends to thread through. But I'm sort of doing the opposite way around. If you watch a video, it'll make sense. But basically, I'm going to sew through down and then go around twice, so that I have the knot on the inside of the cover, so not showing on the outside. Okay, so I'm going to start mine like that. So all I've done, I've gone down once and then through and down a second time, and it's just hanging out through the bottom of the hole. It is different to what Tanya did in her video, but I'm just going to give it a go and see what happens. So I'm just going to do that with all 6 holes now, basically. Just go down from the inside to the out twice. Okay, so 2 things to note at this point. I actually had 7 holes, so I had to go and get another thread to have 7 needles on 7 threads. It's really hard for them to not all get tangled up on the floor, but I'll try my best. And the other thing I'm thinking is, the way I've done this, going through twice, the thread is coming out the bottom. And I think I need the threads to be sort of coming at the sides when I start. So I'm going to take the needle from each thread and just stick it through like this, just so that the thread ends up coming out sort of at this angle rather than from underneath, because I feel like that's where it needs to be once I start the binding. So I'm going to do that and let you know if that makes sense or not later on. So just to show you the difference, these are the 4 I've done. So these threads are now coming out at sort of an out angle. These ones are still hanging down underneath. These 3 I haven't done. I feel like this makes sense because when you do the chain stitches on each page, the thread always starts off at this angle. I'm not sure it's needed, but I basically won't find out till later, and I don't want to not do it and then find. I'm a bit worried that if I have this thread hanging here, that when I put my first page on, the page might start getting pulled round to the back, which obviously that's not what we want. So let's just try this and see what happens. It's a bit experimental, but hopefully it will work out okay. You definitely need to do this on a day when you've got a bit of patience, because the threads are very tangly. And I mean, not that I particularly have very patient days, but yeah. Oh, it's a bit annoying when they get all tangled up. Okay, right. So those are all coming out at the angle I think they need to be coming out at. So it's time to start putting the pages on. So back page, final page. So facing up, because this is like the top of the book facing up. So here it goes. So to do the pages, you are coming down through the hole, and when you come down through, you need to poke your needle through the gap between your two threads. So let's give it a go. I sound like I know what I'm talking about, but I haven't got a clue. Let me just move the camera up to this first one and let's have a try. So I think I'm going to go down all the way through first and then get it through the gap, because I don't know how many times it's going to tangle on the way through. Oh, not too bad. Okay. Okay, and then just make sure I've got it coming through those two threads. Let's try the next one. So if you do this with very stiff waxed threads, presumably it's a lot easier because they don't sort of twist and tangle so much as this is quite a soft thread, this one, which means it's very easy to handle, but it does also mean it's a bit sort of, it has a mind of its own a little bit. Where's my hole? There is a hole, isn't there? Did I make a hole? Yes, there. Which side am I? Let's get to that side first. Okay, so that is the first one done. I think this thread is because it's very soft, I'm going to have to keep making sure these are all pulled down so that it's pulled tight. But basically I just proceed from here, put a new page on, and just keep going until I get to the top, basically. Okay, so I'm about halfway through, so I figured I'd just stop and show you how it's going so far. It's not going too bad. I'm finding it's taking a lot longer than I thought. I'm actually running out of time today, so I'm not sure if I'm going to get it finished in time. But yeah, I think it's going to be okay. The only issue I'm coming up with really is because obviously the pages are already decorated and they've all got like random things on. When it comes to sort of the tension of each one, I'm finding that the edge ones are getting a bit loose. If I take these clips off, you can see that there's movement in this binding, which is really good. Because, I mean, it does sort of wriggle from side to side as well. But that's good because it does allow for a bulk. If there's bulk on the page, it will allow for it. But you can see that this side here is sort of bigger. And I tried pulling it tighter to make it even, and it's not quite working. And I don't know whether that's because a lot of the bulk is at the bottom. Like if I'm constantly putting pockets on the bottom, then perhaps the bottom is actually just thicker. Or whether it's because I'm not pulling that thread tight enough. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't suppose it really matters all that much, but I didn't want it to be really sort of like splayed at each side. So I've started, once I finished a row, I started putting these clips on each side, which I won't be able to use for too much longer because it's getting too thick. I'll have to go and find some bigger clips. Started putting those on and then giving them all one final sort of tug. I mean, not too tight. I don't think they need to be tight because there does need to be flexibility in there, but just making sure they're even. And then I start on with the next page. Right, where's the holes on this one? This side. Okay. So then I will start sewing the next one down. And I'm not finding it too bad in terms of tangling. I do think I probably got way too much thread, but I did think it's probably better for me to have too much rather than have too little. It does sort of bunch up when I try and pull it through the holes, but it's not, this thread, once it tangles, it does kind of unslip quite easily. Like it doesn't knot in a way that you can't unknot it again. But yeah, I just keep going like this basically, and yeah, it's taken a while. And I am thinking to myself, why am I doing this? Like, what, I'm going to do a pre-bound notebook next year and stuff, but I think it will be worth it in the end. I think what I would love to have is a really big paperweight on the top holding it still, because it is slipping all over the place. And my idea of having the board and then a weight on top didn't work because I don't have anything sort of heavy enough, really, to be honest. So yeah, a paperweight, a big heavy slab of, I don't know, iron would be useful to hold it still. But yeah, it's sort of a bit frustrating because I've got such a long length. I mean, this is just all going wrong because I'm talking and trying to sort of peer around the side of the camera while I'm doing it. But yes, once it's done and it's through, and yeah, do you know what I've done? I've just demonstrated what not to do. What I did there is I went through the gap in the thread before pulling it all the way, and I know that's not what I'm supposed to do. What I'm doing is going down through and then pulling it all the way through and then coming back through the gap, because otherwise it just tangles like crazy. So let's find that gap. Where are you? There. And then I come through the gap to make the chain stitch. So yeah, threads aren't, you know, tangling terribly on the floor. I've got them all sort of just hanging down. They're not sort of, they're not getting too tangled. But yeah, I imagine I'm not going to need all that much length, so perhaps next time, if I do this again, I can use less thread and then it will tangle a lot less as I'm going. But yeah, otherwise it seems to be going okay. I've just got YouTube on, listening to some planner videos actually while I while I get through this. Yeah, so I'll just keep going, and then I guess I'll come back and I'll film again. Look, it's knotted again. There we go. I'll come back and film again when I've got to the cover, because I don't quite know how I'm going to put the cover on, how I'm going to finish it, but I'm just going to work that out when I get there, basically. Okay, so I have sewn all my pages in. They've all been bound in. I've had a bit of a, I've made one mistake. Well, not really a mistake. I pulled a little bit, basically. Speak again. I did one row loosely, and then I would add it into the clips and then sort of give them all a tug just to tighten them all up before starting the next page. But when I was doing that on one of the pages that was just two, I think just 2 sheets of like printer paper, I pulled a little bit too tight and it sort of tore the paper. So I'm a bit worried about that stitch coming loose, but if it does, I'll just have to deal with it. I will show you that when I show you the insides in a bit. But I basically got to the point now where I would say I probably got half the thread left, actually. Yeah, probably about half the thread left. So I definitely could have done with less. It's just got to the point now where they're actually manageable. The length of the threads and the needles. So I've got to the point now where I've got to sew the cover on, and I haven't decided how I'm going to do it. I have a feeling I'll probably sort of do the reverse of what I did here on the back cover, and I shall probably, without stabbing myself with the pins, I'll probably go down through the hole, do a chain stitch, maybe. Or I might just go twice through. I can't really think until I just do it. So I'm gonna go down through the holes first, and then I'm gonna kind of work it out as I go. Okay, so in Tanya's tutorial, the way she finished it, which is a lovely way to finish it, was instead of coming through the 2 threads here, like you would when you're doing all the pages, she separated these threads and had one each side. So sort of like the opposite. So this thread would come to the left of this part here, and then you'd be free to tie a knot here. But I think I'm going to have to improvise a little bit, because I want to finish off, the final stitch I want to finish off is me going back down through here, so that I'm just going to tie knots on the inside, I think. I think that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, that's probably what I'm going to do. So I need to work out a way. If I just went down through there now without catching this thread, it would be hanging on just by one, if you see what I mean. So I think what I need to do is somehow secure this, pass it through maybe the previous chain, and then go back down. And I'm hoping that won't put too much strain on that first page. But I can't really think of any other way to do it other than cutting my threads off, splitting them, and then doing it, you know, the way she did. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna try it. What the hell? I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna basically, okay, let me take my clips off. I'm gonna pass this one. I won't do them all on camera because it's really tricky doing it with the camera in my face. But I'm gonna pass this through between the first and the second page, so like through the chain. Hang on, let me move my hand out of the way. So I'm just sort of lifting up the first page with my thumb on the right there. So I'm going to pass the needle behind that one. And then I'm going to go back down through the cover, trying not to make a hole in the wrong place. I think that's the that's the only way I can think of to do it, really. I mean, I could probably Google it and see what the actual proper way of doing it is, if there is one, but I'm just going to do this, because I think this should work, and if it doesn't, I'll do it differently next time. So just making sure that's tight. Yeah, so I'm going to do it like that, and hopefully, well, I don't want to pull it too tight because it'll warp the book, but hopefully that should be secure enough. The page is still open. Yeah, okay, that is the plan. So I'll do one more just on the camera, just in case it's useful. What did I do? Oh yes, between the first page and the second page. See, this is where a curved needle would be very useful. Through there, oh, weak, and then back through the top. Wait, stabbing my pages. Where are my pliers? I've been using pliers to pull the needle through because I don't have that much grip strength in my fingers these days, and also I have even less patience. So my pliers help me pull the needle through when it's got to go through something tough. Okay, I hope that's going to work. Seems like it'll work. Okay, so I'll just finish the other 5 and then I'll come back to show you how I finish it off on the inside. Okay, so those I've all done. So this is how the binding is going to look from the outside. Obviously, you could do the stitch the other way, and you could have your threads coming out the top, and then you could add in beads on, or sew them into the cover, or do something like more elaborate that way. It does look a bit odd. I don't think it looks odd, but it does look very sort of raw, the effect I have on the edge of my book, but I'm happy with it for now for a first go. So I'm basically left with the inside with these threads that I now need to do something with. And I could, if you had an even amount of holes, you could probably tie them together and then sort of make them into like tassel-y type things. But I actually have 7, which would mean that this one in the middle wouldn't have anything to tie to. So I think probably what I'm going to do is just kind of be a bit boring really and just tie them in a knot and cut them off. So it'll be exactly what's on the inside of the other cover really. So just finish them with a knot just here really, because I kind of want to get it done now. I want to get it done and do a flip for you and move on to the next project basically. So yeah, I'm going to just tie knots in those and I will be back when that's done. Okay, so this is the method I've decided upon. Just sewing through the fabric once, just so that I've got a loop to play with. So I've got a loop here on the right, and then I'm just cutting the thread about the same length, leaving it, long enough that I can actually work with it with my hands. Oh, where are we? Yeah, there's the loop and there's the loose part. And then I'm just doing like, I don't know what they're called, it's a normal knot. Well, 2 normal knots, a double knot like that. And then at the end, doing, like putting all the pieces together and doing a final knot like this. I don't know my knot names. I was not a Boy Scout. Right. And then pulling it tight. And I really hope this holds. And I just decided to do this because I thought I'd better make a bit of an effort to make it look decorative. So now they just look like little tassels, and I really hope they hold. But if they don't, I suppose I've got quite a lot of thread there to play with if they don't hold. I'm sure they will. So yeah, that is how I'm finishing off on the inside here. And that's it. I've done it. I've bound them. I can't believe I've done it. So that's what it looks like. So exposed binding on the side, and actually I can't believe it, but it actually worked out how I wanted it to. So thank God for that, because I was getting really nervous about whether or not it was going to work or not. So yeah, it's a really flexible binding, like you can squish it around, and it even like sort of flops sideways like that. But I don't know, it's kind of fun really. The only thing I need to do, there's always something else. The only thing I need to do now is I want to do a closure. I didn't do a closure because I wasn't sure how to do it. And I probably just, to give myself an easy ride, I'm just going to sew ribbon on that side and then just have a tie ribbon closure. Because it does, I mean, it's not too bad considering how bulky it is. It doesn't flare too badly. And I feel like if I squeeze this side together a little bit, it's not, like the thread will hold, I think. I don't think it's going to put any strain on it.
So yeah, that's it. The inside has my little tassely bits like that, and the same with the back, slightly less decorative, and the whole thing, it actually opens flat. So I'm thinking this could be my new favourite binding, because I really don't like working in junk journals when you have to, or any journal, where the page sort of bends round in a hump. And with this one, you could flip, I assume you could flip a load of pages round to the back to give yourself, yes you can, look, you can give, you can do this so that you get a completely flat surface to work on. So I'm really happy, I'm really excited, I'm really glad it worked, and yeah, I'm going to come back with another video to do the full flip through. So thank you for watching. If you made it to the end, thank you so much, and one more video to come. Bye.